All right, we are live.
This is
Thank
so cool.
you. Yeah, thank you, David, for joining me today. I'm excited to get into a little conversation with you. We'll talk about the market. We'll talk about
Awesome.
alt a little bit, which I feel like most people know of at this point, but there's maybe some viewers who don't. Because I still get questions all the time when I do publish like a screenshot of alt sold listings. They'll be like, "Bro, what platform is that?" I'll be like,
Yep.
"Alt XYZ is kind of the standard people use for slabs in my experience." But yeah, I want to get your pulse on the market, talk a little bit about auctions versus buy it now, all that good stuff, and then your experience working in the hobby, because pretty much everyone I've interviewed and just most people I interface with in general are either store owner, vendors, they just buy and sell online, but they're not actually working the back end of the industry or understanding, I guess, how like some of these companies or systems are setting themselves up for success. And I feel like alt, not to glaze them, but has been pretty successful. And you've been with them for like 2 years now, right? Or almost 2 years?
Perfect. Yeah. No, you said it right on the dot.
Okay.
2+ years. Yeah.
Nice.
I started in August 2023. So
Okay.
yeah.
Sweet. So yeah, we'll get into all that. Just housekeeping for anyone joining or watching back later. I have a free Discord called the ZenForce. You can talk about investing, collecting, trading, buy, sell, trade, all that good stuff down below in the description. I also have David's Instagram, which I will link right now as well for anyone coming in. He is a wealth of knowledge. I'm going to tell them that they can ask you any questions they want, even though you might not want that.
No, so out of anyone, I get paid to do that, right?
Yeah.
So
if you have any questions about alt or
yeah,
listings or anything like that, that's where you can find them. But
yeah,
so perfect. I want you to just briefly introduce yourself, maybe let everyone know how long you've been in the hobby and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so my name is David. My Instagram is browneyesyellowdragon. I made my Instagram page around like 2018 or so, right after I graduated college. Wanted to kind of like dive back into my happiest moment of my childhood was like 2002 when I first like opened my Yu-Gi-Oh pack and everything. So that's when I first made my Instagram page and got to meet a lot of pre-COVID collectors of the hobby, and then kind of like grow myself from there. And currently, fast forward, I am working for alt as a sales rep. What I do, I help liaison a lot of the Pokemon cards, TCG cards that are auctioning on alt as we speak. Yeah. And
that happens every 2 weeks, right?
Even though it's weekly auction, but you're not wrong. Every weekly auction is bi-weekly. So each auction runs for 2 weeks. But yes, we have a weekly auction ending every Thursday. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. So you made your Instagram in 2018. Were you still present in the hobby before that, or was that kind of the start of getting back into?
Yeah, I think that was definitely like the genesis of me taking my hobby a little seriously, because graduating right after college, I was like, looking for jobs and stuff. But I went to college in Atlanta, Georgia. So coming back to California, which is my home where I grew up with, I didn't expect the transition to be so severe, because being in Atlanta, Georgia, I was kind of like cruising, I was cruising, the rents were low, my friends were still around me, so I thought I could cruise a little bit. But when I came back home, it was like starting brand new, like fresh. I was like, all right, gotta find a job, gotta find what's it called, my own like calling of some sort. But I just felt a little bit more like I wanted to like kind of, before I dive into the hardcore job and like adulting, I wanted to like get back into a little bit of like the card collecting and everything. I had my little card collection since I was a kid. But mostly it was Yu-Gi-Oh. I didn't really grow up with Pokemon. I mostly grew up with Yu-Gi-Oh. So from there, when I bought like all these cards, I met friends through eBay, through the, it was such a small community, Zach, that like it was such a handful that once you purchase from somebody, you're bound to buy from them again, but on a private level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I even got scammed by this like typical guy named Jacob. He's like the first person. If you get serious in the hobby, that's the guy you get scammed first. You know what I mean? It's like the initiation.
Oh, he's
of the
still
hobby.
around?
Not as much, not all around, but he was like, he scammed so many people in the beginning of the hobby that like, okay, welcome. You like, that's like the initiation. Welcome. Yeah. So, but yeah, man. So I was able to. The Instagram page game was truly a game changer, as you may have known. So like, I think I was very lucky and privileged to have started the hobby before COVID, and that's where kind of like I got to witness the ups and downs of the hobby. You know what I mean? So I witnessed like the Pokemon go up of the hobby, and I saw like the post-Pokemon go down, COVID.
Right.
2022 down, and now we have this whatever this wave is called 2025, and I don't know, we're still in the
somewhere
corner of it
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Thanks. So that's cool. So you've been around for a while. I guess at what point did you transition from just Yu-Gi-Oh to maybe into Pokemon as well, or into other collectibles or TCGs? Like what's the trajectory kind of like from 2018 till now? Or was it just you were on Instagram, you saw more other people collecting other TCGs or items as well? Or
through Yu-Gi-Oh I was able to meet like various collectors, but also I met a lot of cross collectors, and through the cross collectors, one of my favorite buddies in this hobby is AC Pokemart. His name is Tony, and he's an OG too, and he had like the best of Pokemon, the best of best in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like, oh, I thought you were supposed to just be the best of best like one category, right? But then through Tony, I was like, never mind, there is like that greater, like the greatness next door, but Tony is super humble and super down to earth, and through like collectors like him, I realized, holy moly, I missed out my childhood with Pokemon. Like like all these cards like base set, jungle, E-series, expedition. I didn't grow up with it, so this is me going crazy, right? I was like, oh, these are beautiful. Oh, beautiful art. It felt like I felt like my childhood was stolen from me, Zach. And then but then when I looked at these cards, it gave me a whole new set of emotions, basically. Imagine you genuinely didn't grow up with these until you saw it with post college, and you're like, wow. And then that's where I went really, really heavy into Pokemon. Yeah.
So you went back to base set, jungle, fossil, that era of WotC, or what?
Believe it or not, I wanted to complete Legendary Collection. Nowadays, I look like a genius, but back then, I was considered like, "What are you doing? Why are you buying all these reverse PSA 10s? And I was like, well, the firework hollows. To me, that was peak nostalgia. So I know it's like Legendary Collection is considered like a base set 3 because like the reprint of a reprint, but that specific firework hollow gave me a lot of energy. Like it gave me a lot of like, ooh, like the like it was a great introduction for me to dive in. And I even wanted the title of like LC King, Legendary Collection King. Like I wanted that title, but obviously I sold all of them by the time like it was 2021, 2022. I made quite the gains from it. But now looking back, Zach, they were still cheap. You know what I mean? like this
There's
new
just not enough out there now for people that want them. But so were you doing the full set in raw, graded, 10s, 9s? What were you?
Yeah, because the prices were so approachable. Think about it this way. Blastoise LC reverse PSA 10 was only $400 PSA 10. And like legendary,
it's the dark Blastoise, right?
Dark Blastoise, reverse, and Charizard legendary collection reverse PSA 10 that was going for $1,400. So like so approachable, you know what I mean? Yes, to me, like still thousands of dollars were a lot, but to me, I still thought, man, these are relatively affordable for what they are, is how I saw them, But I didn't expect LC's art to hit 30K in the next 5 years, you know what I mean? I thought it would hit like 5K, 6K, but it transcended my expectation, obviously. But that was kind of how I was able to acquire these cards early on. Yeah, because if I were to acquire now, so much more difficult. It's not impossible, it's doable, but it won't be as like rewarding, if that makes sense, Yeah,
it's tough with those types of cards too, because once they've filtered, enough of them have filtered into the hands of people that don't want to sell, then you're kind of at the mercy of the people that do want to sell, and they'll be like, man, that's not the right price for me, or you got to go higher than that. As opposed to back then, you probably could have, I don't know how, it probably was still pretty scarce in terms of listings, but you could maybe get it closer to the last sold.
The concept was similar. For example, like Gengar reverse foil PSA 10 legendary collection. The seller was asking $1,400, and the same logic was there. Like, it's only pot 4. I'm gonna have to, because the average cost of LC PSA 10 was probably like $200. You know what I mean? So to ask 7x of the average cost, that was considered like record price.
Right.
So same concept, same logic of like how to approach it. It's just completely different price tier. That's it. Yeah. But approach and the selling aspect was it never changed. Low pop, highly desirable, hard to grade, PSA 10 right there. You pay it or you don't, And back then, $1,400 was the price,
Yeah. Were they? So if both of those were $1,400, was anyone comparing Gengar to Charizard, or saying that Charizard should be the most expensive LC reverse, or was it more just, this is pop 4, this is pop 12? They're both relatively scarce, both popular Pokemon.
Yeah, I think the reason why Gengar was matching the same price was purely on the low pop, because still it was like pop 50, 60 for the LC's Charizard.
Okay.
Yeah, so availability was much more for that one, but
gotcha.
I personally didn't anticipate Gengar as a Pokemon was gonna pop off like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still continues to shock me to this day, that Pokemon altogether. But
yeah.
Jacob says he can confirm he is not the Jacob. So at least he's not in the chat with us.
Oh, okay. Well, if he is, I wouldn't mind getting my collection back.
Yeah. Dude, what's funny is when I was in preschool, I got my Yu-Gi-Oh collection stolen from me, and it was so sticky because it was the kid that stole it from me. His mom and his aunt or his grandma owned the preschool, so I was there.
Oh my god!
I was
You're
trying
fighting
to
against the
convince
system.
them. I was trying to convince them. I'm like, he stole, dude. At the time, I had such an insane. He stole my my Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. I had like Toon World, Time Wizard, all these Toon Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Those were my favorite.
Yeah.
But yeah, can't beat the system sometimes.
That's just house. Yeah.
Yeah, house rules. So I want to get your pulse on specifically. Well, we could go into Yu-Gi-Oh too, but specifically Pokemon, because that's what most of my audience watches. How do you feel about? I know we sort of just talked a little bit about the low pop vintage stuff. Maybe we can start with that and then go into modern, because I'm curious how what your outlook is on modern specifically now versus 2018. I know it was probably not even a concept to buy modern, sit on modern. There's scarcity to modern, which to some extent I don't think there is. I think there's just more people in the hobby. But I would be curious. So do you feel like with those higher end cards like the Charizard or the Gengar, I think the Charizard's maybe like, has it like doubled in pop since then? It's maybe like 100 or 150 or something. I don't know. I haven't checked.
Oh, for first ed base?
For the LC reverse.
LC, yeah, I think it's like the 80s to 100. Yeah.
So do you see anything? Is it more or less similar in terms of how people are negotiating? It's just the price points are like super different than before, or do you see like, I guess, do you get, first of all, do you handle those sorts of things at all? I'm sure you do, because I feel like I've seen a couple LCs come through.
Yeah, no, we see all sorts of cards, from vintage to modern and everything. But you're asking me like, how is vintage now, and what are they like? What are they projecting it?
And just comparing it to your experience, like in 2018, how those conversations went. Do you feel like it's very similar now? It's just instead of 1,400, we're talking 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand. But is it more or less the same argument of low pop, popular Pokemon, like?
No. I think that low pop has definitely been more thrown out the window. For what I mean by that, like, usually back in the days, low pop immediately equated to premium, But nowadays, sometimes if it's too low of a pop, nobody wants it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I learned through this hobby, and that just because just because a population of a card is over a certain amount, it doesn't mean there's no growth in it,
Right.
I genuinely learned that through Pokemon, and like you said, modern wasn't even a concept in 2018. You're right, but for those who treat it like a concept, they're very wealthy now. You know what I mean? So like, it's through those examples that I learned that, like, don't ever sleep on modern. Just because I collect expensive vintage cards, it doesn't mean there's one way. That's one thing I love about Pokemon is like, what I talk to a lot of like tech investors, like tech guys, right? And one of them, I'm not going to disclose his identity, but he loves to collect black label moderns. I'll be like, yo, do you want an illustrator? Do you want a 97 trophy Pika? I can help you. Like, I can source those for you, right? Because those are your mind. That's what you go to, right? For the best of the best, right? That's where you start, right? And then we trickle down with first ed base, and then add a little more here and there trophies, or right, and then gold stars. We keep, go from there, right? But no, he straight up said, I just want black label ponchos. I'm like, are you sure? You're worth like 9 figures, bro. Like, are you sure? Like, you just want ponchos? And he's like, that's what my kids grew up with. That's what I can relate with my children. And that's the factor that we all have to agree, understand as the industry, that like sometimes older minter and like, what's the SM Pratt said this is an older minter something, third one is like better. The formula, right? Is the formula, right?
Older
but
minter,
nowadays,
rarer,
yeah, older minter, rarer, right? But sometimes I learn as I've been, seeing the ups and downs, the ebbs and flow of the hobby. Truly, like talking to institutional money, like sometimes, like it's not always all vintage that gets the, that love, just like in sports, like ultra modern sports, like kabooms and stuff. Like Pokemon has that appeal to it as well. Obviously our cards are not selling for 50 to 100K because we don't have serials like that. But at the same time, the market cap is there, Yeah. So Pokemon is definitely more volume centric, but at the same time, the valuation of growth, whether it's like $100 slab to $3,000 slab, there is opportunity in my eyes. Yeah. So it's not always strictly vintage versus modern. It's more like, when did you get in? How did you get, did you get in at a good price point? And like, can you afford to hold it? You know, because that's also the second question, right? Like, how long can you afford to hold this stuff? Because
Right.
the longest you hold, you're probably well off in the first place. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because in a scenario where, let's take a $5,000 or a $10,000 single vintage card, a $10,000 single vintage card. If you want to get out of that position, you have to sell the whole card all at once, instead of maybe if you had 10 $1,000 cards or 5 $2,000 cards, you could trim off 3 or 4 of them and, reduce your exposure, but also still maybe capture some of the gains, or still believe in that. You can't sell, at least currently, unless you're, I guess Logan Paul tried to do it, but you can't sell a fraction of a card.
Yeah.
I could see how that could be a difficulty for holding. You have to be willing to hold, otherwise you're better off just getting out of that position and moving into something you actually believe in, because that's sometimes you're going to sink with the ship, I guess, if you're
absolutely.
And that's not to say vintage versus modern. It could be modern as well, but I'm just saying you get the option to move out sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like modern definitely has that upset, like the more volatility aspect of it, but that doesn't free vintage from it either. You know what I mean? Like we've seen the first ed base charts are sell as high as 420K, and currently, even during this hype market, it hasn't hit close to that right now. I think the current market's about 250 to 300,000. Still a marvelous gain from its low of 180K 2 years ago. But at the same time, we have to see the bigger picture. Yeah. And that's something, as newcomers come and go, it's hard when the gains are so good in the preliminary stages of the hobby. It's hard to see long term, or it's hard to see the long term of it going down,
Right.
Yeah.
And I would hope most people that have a first ed base Zard or whatever, they can afford to hold it because they can afford to buy it in the first place.
Yeah. Most people that do buy it should be able to hold it, but there are moments where, like, let's say you and I want to go into a play, we'll split it and then we'll try to find a buyer. I've seen people do that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, I want to ask then, what would be your advice for someone wanting to pick up? Well, I want to take both scenarios, but like for the high end, let's say someone wants to pick up like a poncho or, I don't know, a low pop vintage card. Do you have any advice for someone as far as like comping it and figuring out like what the actual value of something is? This is my issue with vintage too. It's not even that I don't like it. It's that there's not enough volume to where I can gauge what the true value of it is, because the last sale, let's say in a boom like this, the last sale might have been 3 months ago for 3K, 4K, and then the most recent sale maybe jumps to 6K, or maybe there isn't a most recent sale and you're trying to like negotiate with the seller, which sometimes there's fun in doing that because you can build a connection with someone, you meet in the middle, both parties are happy. But I'm just curious because I do know some people who come up to me at the shows that I had done who, they're balling, they're throwing down stacks on these cards and telling me it's low pop and stuff. But I'm curious for someone who maybe wants to get their Grail card, let's say it's like 3K, 5K or something like that, and that's a big portion of their funds. Do you have any advice for someone trying to approach that? Like, how do you value something, or would you network or ask people around first? Like, how do you get to that point, I guess?
Oh, I mean,
how would you approach it if you're going to tell 2018 David, now how to buy your Grail card? What would you?
Oh, buy as many as you can. If it's that early, but no, I see what you mean. Like in today's day and age, how would you approach like? I think the first and foremost, just like anything goes, really know what you like. Like right now we're so fixated on what other people have and what other people's like gains are, and that's something that is like very trap minded. Right. I want people to really, like if you genuinely like ponchos, Like, go for it. It's okay, you know? And I feel like Pokemon is one of the very few hobbies where as long as you're genuine with it, like if you focus too much on investment, you guys, you're not gonna find the card that you like, you know? Like it's good to have both, you're right. I'm not saying just go blindly and like, I like the art, let me get that. No, that's not my point. Understand the history, understand the release of that card. Why is it special to you? And ask them why would it be special to other people, you know? And as you ask those type of questions and you're comfortable with it and you ask me, how would you value it? And these days, brother, we have comps, everything. Like even if, like you said, yeah, 2 to 3 months apart, there is that like lag of like, will it go up or will it go down? We don't know, right? Until we auction it, right? So that's the beauty of the negotiation, right? So I feel like in this day and age with vendors, man, they're so advanced compared to when first Collecticon was formulated. Like everybody has alt, everybody has card hobby, everybody has, or sorry, card ladder. Everybody's comped up, Zach. Everybody has their own like prices. So in terms of like,
everyone's trying to make moves like before they even go to the table. Like they know exactly what
they know it. So I would say compared to like when I first started to now, people are more firm, more confident with the valuation and the prices. And that's fine. That's cool. But also do understand when you kind of like FOMO into those prices, correction is quite powerful. Quite powerful. Yeah. Yeah. So
that's a good point.
But yeah.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, continue. Yeah.
Okay, I was just gonna say, so given the market we're in now, feels like, I mean, vintage is doing very well. It's just not, some of those cards are not quite where they were in 2021, but there are other cards, a lot of black and white XY full arts that have hit, I mean, multiples, you could say 5 to 20x on some of them, where it's just ridiculous. You can't even, again, there's so low pop that people are just paying exorbitant prices for them. But I'm wondering, how do you feel about this current boom or flourishing market compared to the pandemic? Do you see this as the same thing, or does it feel different this time?
Oh, this is, like higher highs, 1000%. Everything is much higher than it has. It's obviously way more focus onto like gold stars and crystals now, rather than like first set base set and jungle, and like the first like 4 Wizard of the Coast sets are not getting the love as it did during the COVID days. Now it's like the mid area, like the EX era. Like Zach, I'm 32 now, so when you were collecting, this is your era, is going crazy. Yeah. I didn't grow up with EXs. I was supposed to grow up with the WotC, right? And like Skyridge was probably like my last one to grow up with. For you guys, Skyridge might be the beginning, and then EXs and gold stars. Yeah,
I think Expedition was the first oldest set I read, but then there we go. EX, a lot of EX, and then Diamond and Pearl.
So your Genesis was E series, right? And then you got into the EXs. That's right. So that area right now, Zach, is going crazy. Right. It's going crazy. So what's the next wave? The next one? I'm just joking, but who knows, right? But do you see what I mean? Like the first COVID was like the 1999 to 2002. Right now, it's 2002 to 2009. Those era of cards are going berserk. And, good for those who held on, Yeah.
But do you think it's as like the transitions as natural as that, or do you think like the market is getting smarter with like figuring out? Because I have a feeling that even back in 2020, 2021, the Crystal Czar, the Shinings, the Gold Stars were still popular. But do you think, I guess I get curious how, especially the vintage market, but just in general, how we get to the point where we're like, this is the card that's going to be, performing so well. I don't know. I know there's not a clear-cut answer for that, but I'm just curious if you feel like the market is getting smarter versus us just going down the line and trying to find.
I also think your age group is making a lot more money than ever before. I think that's
a good point.
Very important thing. I know it's a hot market, but like you said, you guys are a lot smarter. So a lot of transactions happening. So because of that, like more sophisticated group of kids, higher transaction, more volume, more capital, right? So you guys have more money than I've never seen so many your age group with Rolexes, bro. You know what I mean? So definitely,
They didn't hit me up with that.
So I think your age group is doing very well when it comes to that. So I think there is a lot of like also euphoria when it comes to, because this is a lot of money that people haven't been playing around with for a long time. This is the first time for many people. So that's why I think part of it is euphoric as well for certain cards. So I had a customer who's like, "Hey David, should I get the PSA 10 Gold Star Torchic?" And I was like, he can afford it, Zach. He can afford it. One of those tech guys, he can afford it at the 200K mark, right? But you and I both know 6 months ago the card was going for 50K, right? Even if it doubles, even if it triples, right? 200K. That's where do we go from there, right? Where do we go from the 200K? Is Torchic gonna be 400K in the next 5 to 10 years? I personally don't think so.
Right.
But that's my job as a part of a consultant to tell him, be like, you can go for it. I'm not gonna stop you. But if I were me, I wouldn't buy it. You know, is what I told him. You know, so it's moments like that where treading lightly is also very important. Yeah,
right.
Because there's so much like euphoria, so much like passion, and so much happiness that's happening right now that the reality is, you know, these cards might not go up like that again, or sometimes it might kind of like go down a little bit, but we have to be expecting all sorts of factors about it, you know? Yeah. And even though we like the whole last sold, right? Oh, last sold this, last sold that. We as a market have to be very intuitive in that's a buyer gone, you guys. You know what I mean? Like, just because it last sold for a certain high price, unless that buyer has infinite money, and even then, you know, I don't know if some person would repeat buy, you know what I mean, even with infinite funds. So it's definitely important to have like a full comprehensive idea of the whole transaction and market. But going back, yeah, I think your age group, 20 to 30, I've never seen such boom. You know what I mean? Yeah. More boom when I was in my 20s. Like in my 20s, we were doing well during COVID, but man, I think you guys are on a whole nother level as well. Yeah,
I didn't even think about that. Again, it's not really a transition from era to era, but the people from my age group growing up now can afford certain things, or, you know, I know a lot of kids my age who moved to New York or do computer science and stuff. They're making 200-300K a year. I'm like, holy shit.
Right out of college. That's crazy. You know what I mean? And that's good money to start into your like dream collection. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
But to your point, I'm saying if they want to get into a hobby, that might be why they're so like over eager or kind of trigger happy, because they have the money to spend, but they don't really know how to spend it. And so they might go to someone like you and be like, hey, is this and it's like, dude, you know, let's look at it 6 months ago, a year ago. You know, I don't know. There's probably people who want it just for their collection, but also maybe don't understand like how much some of those cards have already appreciated. And so you're getting in that. Yeah.
Beautifully spoken. Absolutely. I agree with them 100%. And you and I mentioned this before this live, but as much as we like to say like, oh, I don't care if my card hits 0, it's really, really tough to see your card with that. It's like, I promise you, like, it's nowhere as sexy when nobody wants to buy your card compared to when people were all over your card. Like, it's just a general psychology. Like when you have all that attention and now it's gone, you know, like it's gonna mess with your mind, you know, mess with the evaluation of your asset, you know. But just if you are even better, if you see it beyond that, then yeah, hold and see the greatness that comes after 5 or 10 years. But point is, it's tough. When things are going down. It's not as easy as you would feel, you know.
I think a lot of people, including myself, maybe underestimate how you feel when you have a a long cold winter on something that maybe you just bought recently and it's expensive and then doesn't go the right way, or you feel like you're sitting on dead money while other people are making a bunch of gains and you're like, man, I missed out. I just spent my only 10 grand I had to spend on the collection, and everyone else is making, they're at 20, 30. Again, comparisons, thief of joy, but also I've been there with crypto stocks, all that sort of stuff where you feel like you made the wrong move. And sometimes people will panic sell because of that.
Absolutely. Because like you said, I'd rather get out of that and then restart my position type of thing. And then people will take losses upon that move, when in reality, you don't want to panic sell, right?
Yeah, no, you definitely don't want to act out of like either comparison or emotion when you're seeing the way you feel about someone else's gains or the missed opportunities. I don't think is a good way to act, because a lot of times when I've sold things in those situations, I would have been better off just holding them a few more years and seeing what happens, as opposed to like selling, try to flip, get more gains back here. Like it takes a long time to earn those gains back. But I'm curious, what's your take on something in the market right now with Pokemon? Could be vintage, could be modern, could be a certain set, certain era that you think is overvalued and or due for a correction. I know we mentioned the PSA 10 Torchic, but is there other cards or eras that you think are overhyped right now?
I don't want to say overvalued or overhyped right now, because I want to give the people the opportunity to make that decision to sell, because I as much as I want to say, oh, this is overpriced, my opinion for now in this market, I have to humbly admit I've been wrong, and when you're wrong, I don't want to double down too hard, so even though my interpretation of the market might be too high, we don't know. We really don't know, right? That's the $1 million question, right? If I can hedge against my bet, I would. If I can, if I don't, right? So rather than to view as like, oh, this is too overpriced, don't touch it. Truly ask yourself the question is like, when you buy it, when you buy this card for a certain price, are you okay going half of that? Are you okay selling it when it goes a certain amount? Like, have yourself like a proper expectation of a conversation in order to like, be okay with it. And also, if you're at like a certain income level, it's okay to like make bad purchases here and there. You know what I mean? That's how you learn. You don't always have to make the perfect batting average. You don't have to always do you don't do crazy full swings, but at the same time, it's okay to swing here and there, Yeah. So
I think that's really good advice, because
yeah,
I think a lot of people, and again, a lot of the messages I get, and I don't feel comfortable giving people advice because I myself have no idea what's going on. Like, I'm trying to understand it myself, but I think a lot of people are scared to swing right now because they really want to get it right. Like the first time. They want 100, a 2x return or 100% gain, and it's like, dude, I can't guarantee you any of that. Like, these are, and
if you can, you would be making hella money for that, right?
And I wouldn't be telling anyone. I wouldn't be telling anyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I think it's obviously don't bet everything you have, but it's better to take a little bit of risk and like expose yourself maybe to something you like that maybe has a little bit of upside as well, and risk it going down a little bit than to not do anything at all.
Yeah.
Or the flip side being to just buy something because someone else blindly tells you online and you have no idea about the product, no idea about the history of the card. I mean, I kind of ended up doing that with when I bought that. It was a Taiwanese trophy card. I really wanted like any Pikachu trophy card, which my thought process was kind of.
I remember you and I talking about that one. Yeah.
I was
what
just
did
like,
I tell you?
I don't remember exactly at the time. You essentially said like, hey, it probably will do okay, but it's not like the desirable, it's going to be the Japanese trophies are going to be the way to go. But I knew I was priced out probably 3 or 4x the price, at least at the time, for a 9 or a 10. But my thought process was, I want to get a Pikachu trophy card. That way, I was like, I think there's like 6 of them or 12 of them. I was like, you know what? There's got to be at
Korean
least
one, bro. Get a Korean.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive. It's like $1,000, I think. Yeah.
But I guess my point is, I was sort of hype driven or FOMO driven of wanting a trophy card just to have a trophy card without really doing my due diligence on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've definitely been there.
No, actually, a lot of the people are rewarded for not doing their due diligence right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, so
you could throw a dart. I keep saying you could throw a dart at a dartboard. You'll make money at this point.
Right. So I definitely see the market right now in that it doesn't feel like there is a wrong answer. You know what I mean? So, and that's kind of gets where it gets murky. You know what I mean? And like you said, if it's a matter of like, oh, I want to.
Oh, we lost David. We lost David. Shit. Sorry, guys. I don't know if his internet crashed or if he accidentally left. Oh, wait. There he is. I was like, uh-oh.
Well, my apologies.
No, you're good. You're good.
But, yeah. Just a moment.
How is everyone doing? Let me know in the chat what we're up to today. What plays are we making, if any? While we wait for David. Obviously, you guys saw the Tyranitar pump that I was talking about from Paldea. David.
Sorry, guys. Had like someone come at the door. We're
That's
good
okay.
now.
Jay Chen says this Brown Eyes guy sounds like he knows a little something about TCG.
About TCG. Yeah, I guess my specific title is TCG expert, right? For alts. Yeah.
For good reason.
We're trying to hire more TCG experts, so if you guys are interested, go to Greenhouse.io and apply yourself there. And see where it goes. It's okay, big deal.
Yeah, I definitely want to get to that section in maybe like 15-20 minutes to ask you more about that. But
yeah.
I don't even remember where we just left off.
We can just continue where we were at. Yeah.
Let's see. Well, first, actually, how did you get into? I know we were kind of talking about trophy cards for a second. How did you get into maybe some trophy cards, but also I remember you had a lot of Art Academy cards. Like I remember you had Kyogre. You had a couple of those really niche ones that, like, I know there's the Pikachu ones, obviously, but some of those where they were still 15, 20K. I was like, holy hell.
Yeah, most definitely. I got into Art Academy really early, before everybody kind of caught on. Even when I got in, the prices have matured quite high as it is. So it's me, guys. You have to take a bet in order to make another gain, okay? So even when I was buying it, it was considered super expensive or super high. So I bought the Kyogre from Collector's Cash, as a guy from Kansas City. Beamer, love Beamer, very good. If you think I'm an expert, that guy's a freaking god. Okay, he knows, like, his experience is crazy. Anywho, they were selling Art Academy like Mew, Kyogre for like 5 to 7K for a PSA 9, right? And right now, everybody's gonna jump and buy that if they heard that opportunity. But back then, that was considered super expensive, guys. So how I was introduced to it is like, first, I just really looked into the history, man. I just like, because right now people are looking at the price points, and that's fine. You can look at that. It's like kind of like the shortcut way, and you can like make your bets here and there through just like the price valuation. But if you look at the history of it, of like, so there's winners, and those winners got 100 cards. Okay, are those winners accessible? Okay, American winners are accessible. Japanese winners, they're not accessible. Okay,
So like those type of like prices fluctuate, right?
Right.
Accessibility and the rarity and the desirability. There's so many factors that come into play that for me, yes, I always saw investment opportunity, but you also have to have that collector um heart in that, I love fine art. I love like rare items. And sometimes I like items that doesn't have to be a PSA 10 in to appreciate, like even if it's a BGSA 5, even if it's a BGS 9, or if it's a PSA 7, it's all good, baby. That shit's rare, like like that's the type of collecting that I like. I like cards that you guys don't have, but at the
Right.
same time you guys still want, because of the history and the richness of the difficulty of acquiring it, but at the same time my tunes have changed too, like whereas like Mario Pika, Luigi Pikas, I even though I envisioned them as like, oh, they're cheap promos, whatever, we both learned that those were one of the biggest gains in any
Yeah.
any Pokemon items. So that's something that everybody should learn. That even though, yes, did I make good plays? Absolutely. But were there other great plays? Absolutely. That's the beauty of Pokemon. There, like, I don't want to say there is no wrong answer, but there are many answers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are
Many
many
ways to
answers.
reach the
Many
same.
ways.
Yeah.
Many ways. Many ways. Many ways. Yeah. You don't always have to go to the illustrator route, trophy king route. If you want to go to the like ultra modern to mid vintage, you know the world's your oyster. Whatever you feel confident in, as long as you don't go outside of your own like uncomfortability, you should be fine, you guys. Yeah. And I like a lot of you guys go to those shows, so there's a lot of transactions happening in general. You get to witness whether it's trades, whether it's buying or selling. I like that aspect of everybody kind of like getting more businessy with the hobby. It's kind of like sports. Yeah, we're
Right.
heading towards like the sports minded. Like, yeah, we love collecting, but we also want to make certain plays with those collecting aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And the other thing I'd say, even too, for I feel like those rarer trophy cards or art academy cards, is that even to your point, the grades, like I feel like with a lot of sports cards too, a lot of the one of ones and stuff, they come back eights, 8.5s, nines. They still go for 2, 3, 400 grand. I think the Patrick
Absolutely.
Mahomes just sold for like several. It was either several 100,000 or several million, I think. But I mean, it's like an 8.5 one of one. So it's
Right. Right.
people, whether I mean, if there's one PSA 10 and then the rest are nines, obviously the PSA 10 will probably sell for more. But in
You're right.
general, like I don't think I think people will still pay a hefty premium for a 9 just because of how, like you said, how inaccessible it is. Like,
Let's talk about Magic together. Lord of the Rings. That's a 9, right? But
yeah,
Post Malone
$2
still
million
paid.
9.
There we go. Right? Yeah. There we
Yeah.
go. So,
And what's
at
funny is I feel like someone could eventually pay more than that, probably somewhere down in the future. I'm sure. Why not? Why not? But yeah,
Yes, they can pay more than the 2 million, but I don't think they can pay Post Malone's asking due to his net worth.
yeah, it's true. Well, it would
Yeah.
have to be someone bigger than him, essentially.
Essentially,
Yeah,
absolutely. Essentially.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay, so we talked a little bit about this kind of flows into the next section I had. You sort of mentioned like sometimes making plays because you think it could be a good investment potentially, but you also have a sort of a collector mindset in terms of I do my due diligence. I understand why this is like a collectible or a rare item. It's not just the fact that I think it will specifically go up in the future. Um, do you find yourself doing that with most things that you buy, or like in regards to Pokemon specifically, at least with like Art Academy cards or trophy cards, is there like, are you doing that sort of back and forth, or after a certain point, are you just like, no, this is, I mean, I understand this market or this card well enough?
Great question. Great question. Yeah. In terms of collective aspect of it, no, you're right. I'm not chasing the trophies as much because after you've accomplished like Illustrator, Trophy King PSA 10, SSB PSA 10, when you reach that like level, you kind of want to like dive into other areas of the hobby. So I love cards, man. Cards gave me the job. Cards are the reason why I'm here, right? But through the cards, you can also level up and advance your taste. So what I mean by that, I love autographs on the cards. So I love illustrators, right? Whenever I see a card and it says illustrator Saito, like when I see Mario Pika, I'm not just looking at Mario Pikachu. I'm looking at Saito's creation. I'm looking at Saito's illustration.
you like Komiya as well, I
Ko-
think, right?
Komiya, all those artists, those like I guess that's like my taste like leveling up. It's more than just like PSA 10 of a certain card. It's the fact that I was able to meet the artist who created this art and like perfect time, perfect setting, getting the signature, getting that encapsulated, making sure the card's in good condition, right? So I think as people as I like kind of like gone through the hobby, that's something that I've been able to enjoy holding onto more is those like specific like autographs or like like shikishis like
Right.
when the artists draw their like sketches and everything. Those are extremely illiquid, Zach. Yes, yes, they are
Dude,
very
yeah, they
illiquid.
are.
However, the essence of collecting wise, it's peak. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially for something like this where it's like
Yeah.
it's technically a one of one, even though
Yes.
people could get more other Shikishis or one that's similar or the same
Y-
character, but he'll
Yes, but
never
it's
paint that exact one again.
everybody listen to Zach. That's exactly it. That's the concept that I'm carrying to this day. You know what I mean? Yes, you guys can make another variation of it. You guys can get another version of it. But if you want specifically mine, there's only one, you know?
Yeah,
So
that's a good point because actually, I would say that for a long time, at least for the last year or two, there has been the market, especially with Mitsuhiro Arita sketched Zards. I feel like there's been a lot more. What do I want to say? Like finer detail or paying attention to like how the sketch is drawn, where the sketch is drawn, how big is the Charizard, does it have a fireball? Like all these nitty gritties that have like sometimes changed the value. Obviously, you have uh PSA 9. The card grade and the auto grade are two distinct different things, but I feel like I've seen ones where it would have like the kanji on it or something, and that might sell less than obviously a non-personalized one that just has the sketch itself. And so there's all these kind of layers that I didn't really understand were there. People would have it addressed to, it would say two, how they had to personalize it. It would say two, but then they would put it in kanji, and it would be like,
mm-hmm,
or they'd say
mm-hmm,
to Ash or to Collector or something instead of a
mm-hmm,
name, because they
mm-hmm.
realize if you do to Tony,
Yep.
there's only so many Tonys that are going to want that card.
Absolutely, absolutely. And not only that, like, people have only so many options, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if two Tonys all is all I have, then that's all I get.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, just going beyond autos and just I've been like very like honing a lot of these like art sketches and those are the ones that have been like speaking out to me more. But these skills like to buy and sell slabs, these like grading, like these I still do it,
Right.
but on a more business level now, so like because alt has like cash advance features, I'll be like, all right, send it, get my cash 50-70% up front, and then I keep making my roundabouts like that. So
That
other
makes
people
sense.
go about it differently, but that's how kind of like I go about it. Yeah.
I
So
mean, it's good if you're using your own like ecosystem that you're a part of, and there's no like, oh, I'm just doing this because I work here. It's like you actually enjoy the product or the service or whatever, and
absolutely.
see
Yeah, yeah. I
value in
speak
that.
I I put my money where my mouth is, you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dude. The other thing I would quickly say too is that to some extent, again, not to give people investment advice, but there are certain artists where you can kind of gamify what to buy, because you see it with like Shinji Kanda, for example. He did the Giratina, the Magikarp. This Seismitoad thing was like ridiculous. The Black Bolt one, I don't know if you saw what happened with that one, but I mean, it's still like a $200 illustration rare. I think it's the third or fourth most expensive card, but it starts to get to a point where people are just, same thing happened with Komiya with Drowsy and Baxcalibur, those other illustrations. I mean, people were targeting like specific artists with these kind of buyouts. It's a little bit interesting.
I did not know this. Okay, it's
Yeah,
by artist basis. It wasn't by art basis.
So there was a point in time, I want to say like maybe 6 months to a year ago, where the illustration rares in Scarlet Violet era, all of them were like massively getting bought out across the board. The Drowsy in particular reached as high as like $80, I think, raw. And the PSA 10s were like almost $1,000. But what ended up happening was you started to see people buying out very specific artists. Like for the Drowsy, for example, people bought out the Baxcalibur, the Frigibax, whatever the middle evolution is, like specific cards from Komiya in illustration rare. So it was getting a little bit, it was like kind of a layer 2 investment that people were, but it ended up being kind of a pump and dump situation. But
yeah, hella pump and dump.
Yeah, but there are still, I mean, there's people who speculate on new illustration or special illustration or alt art that comes from a Komiya or a Shinji Kanja. I mean, it goes parabolic usually now at this point. It's pretty interesting to see people speculate on that sort of stuff. I'm not saying I'm for it, but it's just, I just feel like the market sort of
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty sophisticated in some ways where people will start doing that. They're like, it's the same artist as the Magikarp. You got, I'm like, oh my gosh. All right. Well, let me ask, well, actually, let's see here. I want to ask, what has been your biggest mistake in terms of something you've purchased, and your biggest mistake in terms of something you passed on that you should have bought at the time?
Passed on. Man, I feel like I should have bought all the gold stars. That's what I passed on.
Okay, but something maybe that you were thinking about that like you just never pulled the trigger on. Could be Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, trophy, whatever it is.
I think
you had, didn't you have a University Magikarp also at one point?
Yeah. I had a PSA 10 University Magikarp. Yeah, those accolades, I have already got most of it, but I would say the one that I shouldn't have invested on was the 1/1 trophy cards of the female winner of that.
The Battle Day.
No, not the Battle Day one. It's like the winner's actual picture on the card, and she goes like this. You know what I mean? So I was the owner of that card as a CGC8, and then Pokemon employees had extra copies of that card. So it's okay to have extra copies of trophies, you guys, but to have extra copies of a 1/1 is a different story, guys. It's not. When it's supposed to be just one, and there are extra copies, that kills the value. Okay, if it's not a 1/1, if it's like 8 distribution and you found like 10, 12, you know what I mean? It's still okay. You know what I mean? It's not great, but it's not like holy moly. Like I had to like throw away.
Like
I had to
if they found like another 1/1 ring that Post Malone bought or something like that, and
that's bad.
There's 5 more or something, and it's like
that's terrible.
Those are not going to sell for $2 million.
No, and it's not something that Post Malone would dollar cost average down either.
No.
It's like, it's 500K now. Let me get that one. No, it doesn't work like that, you guys. The whole appeal is gone.
Yeah, you cut your losses at that point, where he's just like,
exactly,
all right, I've moved on.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's something that like not many people know. I've shared with very few people, and I'm not ashamed of losses. Like I think that builds your strength. You know what I mean?
Right.
Through these losses, because at a certain point, I was very confident with my choices. Like, I've I must be doing something right, you know what I mean? And then like boom, boom, chose that, and then like that was like the most ultimate wrong call. And yeah,
But you
definitely,
couldn't have
yeah.
predicted that at all. Like that's
No,
not.
who
Yeah.
expected them to have extra
Yeah.
copies of one of one?
Especially because I mean, isn't that card like 20 years old or 23 years old or something?
Beautifully, yep, 25 years old,
Yeah.
2000. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So you could not
yeah.
have predicted it, but alas, that's I mean, that's kind of what happened. I mean, they were a lot of them were inauthentic, but it kind of happened with the prototype cards too, where like you
I
kept
think
seeing
I think it's the
more
same
versions.
owner. Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was the same culprit,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, yeah. So,
Causing a ruckus.
yeah,
Well,
definitely.
what's your well, okay, let's spin it on a positive note then. What is something that you're super appreciative that you had bought or maybe invested in or speculated on that gave you a really good return? Like, I know you had the Trophy Kang, but I don't know what your entry is on that, or was it the Art Academy? Something that where you were like spot on right
Oh.
about, and you were super happy that you made that play.
I will say I was right about all of it. It's the fact that I sold too early for certain things, you know, like yes, I made my gains of 100 to 200%, but the if the result was going to be 10,000% return, I think I still didn't do my due diligence in that aspect, you know what I mean? So like yes, I've sold things very well, Zach. I don't think I've lost money other than like a few exception here and there. Like if I was like a batter, think my average is like 70%, which is like better than Otani, you know what I mean? But obviously that's just TCG batting average. But
Right.
I think the biggest point would be the fact that sometimes most of my cards that I've sold relatively too earlier, you know? There are moments where I sold right on the dot, you know what I mean? But that's something that you as a buyer and seller have to understand. Like you have to be happy with the profit that you made. And if you're remorsing on it, let's say you buy it again, you might lose money because you bought it so high. You know what I mean? So
I've
it's
had yeah, I've had many times, again, not on that scale maybe as the trophies or whatever, but I same thing happened to me last year with XY boxes. I had Roaring Skies, Primal Clash, what I sold them at 700, 900. I'm like, dude, I'm up like 600, $700. They're like $4,500 now.
there. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Could not
That
have
like,
predicted it.
yes, you won, but could you have won more? Like that's me. You know what
But
I mean?
but
Yeah,
here's the
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I think in both of our scenarios, unless you really have like diamond hand balls of steel, it's a lot of money, man. Like unless you really have the guts to hang out for some of that stuff, like I think we're still making the right judgment call in that. Like I probably would have done the same thing had I gone back again because it's really hindsight's 2020. We couldn't have told ourselves at the time just hold it, don't do anything with it. Because again, even at the time, people are saying these are up 2, 3x. Like there's no way they could double or triple again. And it's like it exceeded everyone's expectations. So I don't know. I think we still like you have to also be logical about it and be methodical about it. Obviously, there's some things where maybe you don't sell it off for longer, and you hold it and you get a better return. But I don't think it's not something to be upset about. But at the same
No,
time,
no, yeah.
yeah, it makes sense both ways. I
Yeah,
feel like.
like you said, hindsight 2020, but don't be remorseful of the moves that you made. Learn from them. Like, you know, don't neglect them. Learn from them and like, okay, there are bigger margins to be made, you know, like
Yeah.
learn from these examples. And I've made much better calls because of that, you know, like I'll share with the audience that I bought a number one Pika trophy, PSA 9 third tournament, still number one trophy, 1998, number one Pika trophy. It's the third tournament, PSA 9. I bought it for 168K on Fanatics Premier auctions, right? On December. And then August, I sold it for 225,000. So would I been like, did I see that car going for 300K, 400K? Sure. But for me, when I saw the set being listed on Golden, Zach, that made me fear a lot. Does that make sense? Like, if I'm gonna park 200K of my money, Zach, I don't care if the world's crashing or like when it's parked, it's parked. But when
Right.
I see another set coming out, like Golden, especially Golden, how many illustrators have they sold? How many trophy kickers have they sold? A lot. Okay. So for me, I get uneasy by that. So those are the type of moments that I had to sell, if that makes sense. And that's a 56K gain profit is amazing, right? But for me, it wasn't about the profit. It was of the fact that I wanted to feel safe when I parked that much amount of money
Right.
into an asset. You know what I mean? In that case, I'd rather park 200K into Nvidia. Even if it crashes, I know that like it's there. You know what I mean? It's not going to go anywhere. Whereas like Trophy Pikas, if there are more copies coming about, Zach, I can't control that. I
Right.
genuinely can't control that. Yeah.
I still think Nvidia's a good buy right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Castell, what's up, dude? Not only that, but the gains made back then were reinvested and compounded potentially at a greater rate than if you held. Yeah, so
Oh, thank
and
you,
that's
Castel. Yeah.
I think that's true too. Like obviously we're all trying to do well and enjoy our time doing it, but there's definitely I would argue that probably some of the moves I made with the money that I took from some of those sales still have outperformed uh the returns
That's
of
a great
some of the
perspective that Castle said. It's not the fact that we just like cashed out and then just let it sit, right? We reinvested and like continually reinvest. So yeah, definitely it's not as marginal as we make it sound. I'm sure it's
yeah.
a lot greater than it actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody knows ultimately. Like everyone's playing this sort of higher level guessing game trying to figure out
Yeah.
what's the next big thing, but like nobody knows because if we did, we all would be rich already. So,
Yeah, I would definitely say to everybody in the audience and just general community as a whole to like enjoy what you like, truly enjoy it. Because if you just enjoy the price tag, you will be in for trouble. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Because cars that I thought were like 300K are not even that price anymore. You know what I mean? So it all depends how you treat it. And yeah, just if I can give like personal advice is that don't always focus everything into Pokemon and other TCGs. Use the TCGs to get yourself the capital, but once you have that capital, invest into like stocks as well. I'm not talking about crypto, like just genuinely just stocks, because having liquidity, guys, is a game changer in this space. So what I mean by this, we trade a lot, right? I'll trade you for this. I'll trade you. What do you accept trade? I'll pay you this plus trade plus cash. But when you have full cash, my guys, the negotiation is so in your favor. So what I mean by this is like it's good to be cash heavy and cards heavy, but also invest in areas where you can just put it in the back burner where it grows without you having to flip. You know what I mean?
right.
Obviously, markets go up and down, right, Zach? But at the same time, it historically goes up, right, Zach?
Yeah.
So I would definitely say kind of like reinvest yourself in a way that like Pokemon and job is not enough. Like invest into stocks and no, I'm not talking about crypto. That's different discussion. I'm talking about stocks, S&P 500, blue chips, Nvidia, baby. Like those type of things. Like it won't hurt you. It will not hurt you in my eyes. Yeah.
No, I think it's this year has been the first year that I've started to take that stuff seriously with
Let's go. Let's
yeah.
go. That's my boy Zach right there, guys. He's gonna be
Yeah.
a multimillionaire in 5 years. I'm telling
We'll
you.
see. Yeah, but a million in 5 years probably will be worth like 500K today. So we'll see.
Doesn't matter. 500K million, still good amount of money. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely
Stuff's
all
money.
about that diversifying there because I do think we are still at the beginning of this whole AI boom. It's gonna be crazy in a couple years, I think. But anyways, okay, last question that's market item related, and then I want to get into your time at Alt and just what that experience has been like. So last question for you, just because I have to ask, because I collect / invest. I mean, I just use the word invest because it's the clickbait word, but like honestly, everyone who's collects is also like investing to some degree, whether it's their time, money, energy, effort, whatever. But do you put away, I guess, any sealed at this point, or are you still strictly slab?
Oh, yeah, amazing question. Like I have like 3 cases of
What?
Destin Rivals,
Oh,
right?
oh, there
Yeah.
you go.
I have like cases of original 151 Japanese. Yeah, I'm a I'm not like a high level sealed collector, much more high level slab, obviously. But sealed wise, man, that's an ETF, baby. Like if I
Yeah,
can like give it like a comparison, that's like the biggest ETF in any of our industry. I don't see, yes, we will see correction markets go up and down, but when I see historically speaking, sealed is their safest bet, you guys. And if you can't get into freaking first hit base booster box, that's okay. Buy modern. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like if they double, like which asset doubles a year, you know what I mean? Like that I think that itself is crazy. Obviously do your due diligence of like which set is going to be good and stuff, but I feel like modern is more of like a community, right, Zach? So like, you know, when you kind of like follow your friends and like do it with your friends, I feel like modern sealed collecting can be very fun. Yeah. And lucrative as well. Fun and lucrative. And that's something that I think I've been able to really, really succeed in this industry, in that I've been able to have a lot of fun and like, you know, kill it on that next level as well, you know? Yeah.
yeah. You gotta. I mean, if you're not enjoying it, then why are you doing it to begin with?
Right, right.
No
Then
one's
go.
forcing you to buy Pokemon or put your money into Pokemon. Like, yeah. Okay, I want to dive into alt and just yeah, I got a list of questions to ask you.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Um so I guess, and this is more so for me selfishly because I remember when I first met you virtually, I I vaguely remember you maybe doing reholder services or something for PSA at the time. I don't remember exactly what you were doing. But
Yeah.
how
Strict.
did you, either at that time or even after that with alt, how did you decide that you wanted to work in the industry full time? Like, what were you doing before, and what kind of made you go to that decision? Were you just enjoying it so much that you were like, "This is where I want to spend my time"?
Yeah, so the I'm always gonna give this guy mad flowers. The person that got me this job, his name is Peter Pettypas. He works for Golden, but because his long-standing relationship in the industry, Alt was looking for a TCG expert, and Peter was the one who recommended me. And then here I am, and the recommendation came to fruition, and I was I became one of their employees, thanks to Peter. And I was doing cards and like other like I was in cybersecurity, Zach,
Hmm.
for UC Irvine Hospital. So I was in control of the patient health information, PHO, you know. So like those type of things were very dry for me. So I always like had like, you know, the hobby and like the like buying and selling all that good stuff. But I actually had a friend who recently got let go at PSA for like just corporate reasons. He didn't like, you know, he didn't do anything wrong. I think it was more
Hmm.
like a layoff, like they were just cutting people off type of stuff, you know? So I was like, hey man, you want to work for alt? I suggested it to him initially, you know? And for, I don't know about you, Zach. If I'm giving you an opportunity and you don't take it, I'm gonna take it personally. You know what I mean? So like, so what happened was I told it to him. I was like, "Hey, are you interested?" And at first he's like, "Hell yeah, I'm qualified. I worked for PSA for X amount of years. I'm so qualified, you know." Like, I'm gonna go apply, bro. And then like I hear back, he didn't apply. So I was just like, you know what? F this. I'm apply. So I applied,
Oh my gosh!
and then I took it to a whole. I was the one. I was like, you know what? If you're not gonna appreciate it, I'm gonna take it. You know. So even though I didn't technically wasn't searching for the job, I always was intrigued and curious about the job. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and Peter, he's been doing it since like PWCC days before they got bought up by Fanatics. So, he I was always like looking afar from him, but I've seen Peter like grow up to such a beyond the collector. Like he was like actually like industry level person. Like his network, his people, his like his clientele was super next level, and that's where I kind of got another influence of my version of it as well. Like yeah, I have my Instagram friends and following here and there,
Right.
but it was through alt that like transcended me to this like actual like threat. Like oh like I know this person now. I know that person now. And these are like institutional money people,
Right.
whereas I wouldn't have been exposed to them just sitting on Instagram. Yeah. So
So have you I mean, they say to do what you love. Have you been enjoying
I love it. Yeah,
being able
this
to
job.
earn a living while also doing kind of what you thought of as a hobby before?
The only thing I'll complain is the quota, is the monthly quota, but that comes with every sales job, right?
Right.
Yeah. But in terms of the job aspect, I get to work from home. I get to like talk to you guys, in the middle, midst of my work. Yeah, I have to hit my meetings and clock in and like be available on Slack. But is that so hard, Zach? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's not that hard,
Right.
I because I get to do what I love, and because people resonate with my passion, a lot of trust is going back and forth about it. Like oh, like David, he's a trusted guy. Let me consign a few stuff here and there with him. So I definitely really love the job. I cannot complain. Obviously, quota comes with the job. That's part of the job, but other than the typical aspect of it, I think I'm one of the most privileged people, and that I can clearly speak out that I love my job. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm writing a question I want to ask you off stream now, actually, about work. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, guys. That question is for Patreons only. Sorry,
No,
guys.
no, no, no. I just, yeah, no, it's more so like I'm curious what, yeah, you'll see. Because didn't you consign before? Did you consign before on your Instagram or anything? Like I vaguely remember you like, or were you just doing strictly like your own stuff?
Like I've helped people out. I've helped auction houses out. Like I've helped Heritage out. I've helped Golden out. Like I've always had like small partnerships here and there, but it was all that like actually employed me. Yeah.
Gotcha. They sent you an offer, and you were like, okay,
Yes.
this is
Yes, sir.
bi-weekly or monthly paycheck or whatever it is.
Yes, bi-weekly. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just for anyone who's listening now or listens back later, can you kind of explain what alt is and what you do for them? I know very vaguely it's a marketplace. They were a liquid marketplace, but can you explain maybe what differentiates them from other? Why are
Auction
people going
houses?
to them? Yeah, why are people going to them in general?
Oh yeah. So a lot of people use us for pricing comps. So not many people realize that we are a marketplace, Zach. So it's important that I speak out on what we lack of sometimes. So even though I share with y'all that it's a marketplace, a lot of people, most of the people, when they use our app, they use it to price their comps and inventory and everything, and that's fine and that's good. But our true bread and butter is when you sell with us, we give you cash advance up front. That's our true sexy feature. And I'm a consumer too, right? Like I buy and sell too. And when I sell certain like high-end cards, sometimes I want to try out other auction houses.
Right.
And even though I work for alt, I want to give like a pretty objective point of view that in terms of cash advance, no auction houses can compete. We just have that system down that like there if it's just hard for other auction houses to prioritize cash advances, you know?
Can
Yeah.
you explain a little bit more how the cash advance works? Maybe for like, is it dependent on the price? Is it dependent on, I think you said a set percentage of 50 or 70%? And then what does
Yeah.
that actually look like? Is it based on the market price for the item? They say we'll pay you, it's $1,000 card, we'll pay you $500, or how exactly does it work? I guess for
Great
someone who wants
question, Zach. Yeah, similar to that concept that you spoke of, instead of like who's the evaluator, the valuation person is the expert pricing person is called the EP team, and they're the ones responsible with the AI that we use. If it's under $5,000, Zach, I'll be candid. AI kind of prices it, you know what I mean? But anything above like 5,000, that's where the human pricer step in and then like make healthy conclusion where the
right.
prices are. Yeah. So
And then
there is human element to it. Yeah.
gotcha. And then do they pay, so they pay 50 or 7, whatever the percentage is up front, and then is the remaining percentage paid after the sale goes through?
Exactly. Yeah. So let's say, Zach, you can sign the card with me, right? And then your card's valued at $10,000. So I give you, let's say, $6,000 up front, 60%, right? Your card's already like running, right? It's now running and you got your 6,000. And when the card ends, you get the remainder minus the 6,000, right? Yeah. So
So if it sells
sometimes
for
that
9,000 instead of 10,000, you'll get 3,000 remaining, right? Or am I? Or I not
no.
after
You
fees,
get yeah. We get the fees, but you still get the most of that remainder, like three
right?
thousand dollars
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
to
yeah.
you.
Okay,
Yeah.
that
No,
makes sense.
we don't buy your collection at 60%. That's what vendors do. We cash
Yeah.
advance you, and then you get
No,
the
I was
remainder.
just
Yeah,
saying, like, if it, I mean, because 10,000 is what everyone's expecting it to sell at, but sometimes they fall short, sometimes they exceed.
yeah.
But
Overperform. Yeah.
yeah, you guys pay whatever the difference is minus the fees.
Fees, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then can you just explain really quick, because, or actually, wait, let's say, what exactly do you do for them? Because you said you're a TCG expert or
Yeah.
specialist. What
So
is a day in the life like for you?
um yeah, another great question is that have you guys seen King of Collectibles on Netflix, the Ken Golden show?
Yes.
I know that's my competitor, but it's great example of what I do. It's like you know how they go like show to shows and try to get items and trying to um talk to customers door to door, right? So instead of me going door to door like that, I'd be calling you, I'd be on the Instagrams, I'd be on the Facebook marketplaces. So I'd be reaching out to a lot of the customers, and not only that, Alt has Salesforce where it has the lead system, and I hit up every lead person that I get, and it separates into different types. Like there's people who are just asking cash advance, so I can focus on the cash advance people. There are people who are bidding, so I can talk to them in a bidding. You know what I mean? There's context next to each of the leads. It's not like blind leads per
Right.
se. You know? Yeah. So that's just like a pure corporate aspect of it, and that's my day to day. Is like I spend most of my time hitting my leads and like catering to customers. You know, even customers such as like Benjamin B. He asked me a lot to like, where's his stuff at? You know, so I'll be like, all right, bro, you don't got to ask me for that one, but I'll help you, I guess. But yeah,
Have you
so
have you heard of well, I don't know if it's Salesforce's direct competitor, but have you heard of Palantir at all?
Palantir,
Yeah.
yeah, I have stocks of it, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish
Oh,
I did.
it's related to Salesforce. I thought
It's
Palantir
not
was like
it's not direct.
military.
No. It's not just military. It's like enterprise AI. So I guess a lot of companies are, I mean, their cost is really expensive. It's like, I think the CEO of Salesforce has been pissed because they've been taking certain customers away. But I think Palantir is like 5 to 10 times more expensive than Salesforce.
Salesforce.
But
So isn't that not in their best interest then? Because the cheaper, the better.
no, but it's working so well that like the price is
It's
justified.
worth that price.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. No, it's an enterprise AI system where essentially they can take a company. Think of like how ChatGPT is helping people on a day-to-day basis. Now implement that into a
into
company.
a corporation. Yeah.
Yeah, there was an example where someone fed like a bunch of invoices for like a trucking export situation or whatever, and Palantir's software essentially took it, optimized it, and then all the like they were making way more profit. So I'm just curious because I'll be curious to see in a couple of years if that ends up replacing
Great,
Salesforce.
great. Hope it's not too good, so they don't replace us in general. You know?
No, I don't think it'll do that. Okay, so one other thing I want to talk about with alt is I saw you posted on your Instagram today, which was the dual listing feature.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious how that works too, because it seemed like, I guess, explain to me what that is, really quick.
Yeah. So Alt is one of the, I think it's the only auction house out of all of them where we can actually dual list our fixed marketplace on our website and on eBay as well. So what I mean by this is like, Zach, let's say you have $1,000 card that you want to list on Alt. When you dual list it on eBay, it's going to have Alt XYZ as the seller, and the listing is going to say $1,130 because of the 13% placed on top of it. So when buyers see your card and it says 1,130, if they're smart enough, they'll go to the Alt website and then find your exact listing, but $130 cheaper just because you're taking the 13% eBay fees out of it, right? And then it gives you more room, you Zach, to negotiate as well. You can accept $900 or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I've been doing it. 90% of the time, people just buy it through our eBay because not many people think enough to go to the Alt website. They think Alt is their eBay page. I think people think like, oh, that's Alt's eBay page, so they must be selling their cards, like instead of but in reality, it's our customers' cards. It's not our cards.
Man, it's so interesting because Alt really, I would love to understand a little bit more about, like, I know you probably are up there with the people that run it, but it's so interesting. It really feels like they have multiple. It's kind of like, I don't want to compare it to like Tag doing AI grading, but my whole pivot there is that it's like a market disruptor. Like Alt really is, like, again, this is not to glaze or to shill or whatever. It is the go-to for comping slabs when you go to these shows.
Oh, trust me, yeah.
It's interesting.
People get mad at me.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm like, why hasn't like a company like PSA or eBay or any of these companies like tried to buy the software or the code or the methodology that Alt uses? Because it is so much more robust and fluid than a lot of these other. It's better than 130 point in my experience. It's just faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I was just thinking about like how they're able to, I mean, even with this dual list feature that you're mentioning, I'm like, why is this not being implemented more? It's probably because most of these auction houses want to keep it on their platforms, but
ecosystem.
still,
Yeah. And not only that, there's a eBay doesn't like Fanatics. Fanatics doesn't like eBay. Like there's actually like this like beef between the companies. You know what I mean?
But I'm still thinking, like, you know how like James, for example, ZNG, like he definitely gets, you know, there's people who they do enough volume through eBay, they get better rates for their seller fees. Let's say maybe instead of 13, it's 8 or 7 or whatever. It's interesting that they don't have, and maybe they do, and I'm just not aware of it, but some sort of like enterprise partner program or something where like an Alt, for example, could be like, hey, we are also an auction house. We will sell through eBay, or like we'll list on eBay as well, as long as you give us like a better
percentage.
Instead of 1,130, maybe it's 1,100 or 1,000.
They do give us a better percentage. Higher. That was just like a rough, like casual number I came up with. Let's say I'm listing $100,000 card, Zach. It's not going to be 113,000. You know what I mean? They're gonna make it $100,000 and $500, I think. You know, so the fees will minimize as the higher you're asking is. Yeah.
I guess I just meant more so from like the same way they give James some sort of preferential treatment because he is passing through a ridiculous amount of fees to them. Why they wouldn't do it with other, again, they might
they're so selective. eBay is so selective. They're very selective. I mean, James created quite the operation, so I definitely give major flowers and kudos to them, and that like it's not deserved. They freaking earned it. You know what I mean? So it's more like a testament of their greatness rather than like, oh, eBay should be doing that. It's more like, damn, James really did that, you know. That's how I kind of see it, you know. Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I guess, like, and I'm also thinking of it too because eBay seems to have like insane partnerships now with PSA where they're trying to like funnel things through that.
Didn't eBay buy Golden?
I think they bought, and they bought TCG Player as well. Like, they have a big stake.
Yeah, they have a huge
Yeah.
position. Yeah. I'm
It's
not
just,
sure. I'm not sure. I would definitely say, Zach, in terms of like overall, like actually like revenue point of view, auction houses are not as strong as certain other businesses that I've seen. So maybe eBay's focusing on repackers or live streaming, which has way more margins than like I
right.
could sell 5 illustrators, bro, and that wouldn't compete with these repackers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I'm
No, those
telling
guys,
you, like,
they make dumb
I,
money.
so like that's industry 2.0 is repacking, whereas auction is like more of like a 1.0, you know? So that's how kind of I see it, why eBay doesn't always materialize with auctions, if that makes sense, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and also I mean I gotta think that they're a massive company. They're on the stock exchange. Like
So you
they
got
have
$40 a
other,
share,
yeah,
right?
they have,
Yeah.
no, it's dude, I think they're like 93
Oh,
dollars a
my
share.
apologies.
Yeah.
My
Put some
apologies,
respect on
eBay.
their name,
Yeah,
bro.
sorry, eBay. We're hitting $100, eh?
Yeah. Okay. Couple more questions. I want to be respectful of your time and then we'll get out of here. We still
No,
have
I'm
like
having a good time, bro.
10,
Yeah.
12 people in here. If anyone has questions for David or I before we dip in a little bit, let us know in the chat. But um so let's see. Oh, a question I had. So alt is really, in my experience, at least at the shows, by bar none, the comping mechanism for slabs. Is there a reason why, or would they ever eventually get into comps for sealed or singles or like any other avenue? The only reason why I
Yeah,
thought there would be difficulty is because, conditioning wise, and also they would probably have to,
authenticity.
yeah.
Yeah. I think my biggest goal or my bigger goal would be to sell sealed wax on our platform. That would be like my goal. To have comps is not our priority, unfortunately, just because we have to focus more on the revenue generating aspect of it. The comps that you guys have is in to customers' perspective, it's like, oh, you guys should focus on your comps because those are like the main reason people use your app, right? But but we also have to kind of like double down on that statement, or like kind of like um, argue against that statement, because at the end of the day, it's a free feature. So like
But
for
there's no way for them to monetize that? I know for like 130 point, they probably only make revenue from ads or something, but it's,
yeah, it's just the goal should be to prioritize the marketplace exposure aspect of it, instead of like a comp aspect of it. Comp is extremely important, but it's more of like that extra feature, like when you drive a Tesla, it's like autonomous driving, like it's like here when you use alt, you can also see comps, you know what I mean? But we want you guys to, I know it's like a growing pain. I know it's not comfortable for you guys, but I promise you, once the ecosystem of alt is a lot more common, where you guys are using our vault system, using our cash advance. Let's say you guys are buying a house and you have like $3 million in cards. You can get a loan on your cards too. You know what I mean? So
right.
there, like that's what we want to make that level of. It's like we want alt to be like the Robin Hood of your cards. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that
So
makes sense.
like, yeah.
You
So
do all the transaction through the super app kind of, or the one platform.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that. Yeah, obviously we have TD Ameritrade, we have Charles Schwab, obviously in that, but you and I both know Robinhood is like it's so
Oh,
easy to go in.
they're crushing it. They're still putting
Yeah,
out insane. Robinhood is one
yeah,
of the only other individual stocks I own now because of
yeah,
how like innovative they've been. It's crazy. I mean,
exactly.
they're introducing Robinhood banking and like home loans and all that
Insane.
stuff. Yeah. it's crazy. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I'd be curious. I'm curious to see if they keep alt the comping system free indefinitely. Because here's
Yeah,
the
it'll
thing.
be free indefinitely. It'll be only premium if you guys want to go more than the 3 months. In my
I'm just
employee
saying
opinion.
I could see
Yeah.
a world where it would be like 99 cents a month or something to use like the comp system or a dollar, whatever it is. But I'm just saying, like, I would pay for that genuinely because I
Y-
enjoy the comp so much. I would pay for that because the usefulness I get out of it at a show, the fact that I can
Yeah.
take a picture of the slab, even if I don't want to search the name, like their system, whatever AI they have in the back end is just working better than looking up eBay, going to sold listings, filtering, but it's a lot more work than but again, that's me glazing alt. So I'm sure that you guys are continuing to do like pretty like impressive stuff. So I'm confident that they'll figure out if they're
Oh yeah.
struggling making revenue ever, they will figure out another way to do that. So
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah, alt has definitely come a long way. Since even before I was working there, it was definitely on a different like trajectory. Like they were doing NFTs and stuff. So
right.
a lot of correction, a lot of like advancement had to be made, and a lot of fat trimming had to be done, Yeah. So
I mean it's good. It's impressive that they are still around. Again, that's why I was like, "Oh, damn, you've already been there." Because I scrolled through your Instagram. I was like, "When did he first post about alt?" And I was like, "Damn, it was 2023." So it's been like 2 years and time flying. But also, it's good that they're still because we've had these different grading companies and stuff come and go. These different platforms come and go. Alt has only grown since then, and so it's good
thank
to
you.
see that it's still like you know a go-to for a lot of things. So I was just
Thank you guys.
happy to
And
see that. Yeah.
it's a testament of you guys' like trust in me. You know what I mean? Like, I think this community and market is so built on trust, right? So if and like though even though I was able to earn that, I also don't take it for granted. And that like
Right.
I don't think alt would have been as explosive if it wasn't for your guys' trust in me. And that's what I really appreciate people about, because
We only
I
have trust in you though because you built, that reputation and have you carry yourself a certain way. So it's still
appreciate you guys. No,
yeah.
it definitely I don't take it for granted because it's a marvelous feeling. You know what I mean? It's definitely heavy weight sometimes because it's a lot of trust that you have to maintain. But at the same time, the it's so worth it. Yeah, you can see it, the greatness that
Right.
Alt was able to become. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, last main question and then we'll wrap up. I wrote this one just because I think this is interesting. I wrote like advice you'd give someone that wants to do what you're doing or wants to be in TCG space for their full-time job. Maybe not just the buying and selling aspect, but like is interested in like learning more and doing this sort of day to day. And the second point to that was what are some of the most important skills, which is like, what do you think for someone who is getting into a job in the trading card space, whether it's PSA, alt, I mean, even GameStop now, but like all these big corporations that are running the space, what advice would you give someone who is wanting to be TCG centric or collectible centric?
great time to apply, you guys. Great time.
Yeah, there is a
There's gonna
job posting.
yeah, great time to apply. Great. Um, this is a time for you guys to really really like see if you guys can actually take it to corporate level, because even though you might be able to do it on a private level, a corporate level is a whole different demand. And I genuinely believe every single human being can be able to achieve it. It's a matter of like, do you really love it? You know what I mean? Because I don't know about you, Zach. I sleep and wake up cards. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I actually genuinely love TCG. So if you love it, nothing will stop you. But if you just want to do it because you think it's easy money, or like you think it's like easy job, that's where I kind of want to reevaluate your mission. And I yeah. Now if you really are serious about getting like, going to this like level of job, no, really talk to the people in that industry. Like talk to a
Right.
golden employee, talk to me, talk to, you know what I mean, talk to a heritage employee, talk to them. But pick their brains, like how did you get here? Because even though different auction houses, the it's not that different. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Everyone's trying to like consign, sell through their platform. You know what I mean. So the establishment to get there is not that different. It's the matter of like you being able to talk to these people, kind of understanding what it consists of, and once you have that full idea, I think the world's your oyster. Like you can do whatever you want, and you can be as happy as me, or or just have like a big vision for yourself in the long term. And a lot of people would come up to me and be like, "Oh, is being a vendor a good experience or like enough experience?" And I say, unfortunately, not. Being a vendor is not the only requirement or prerequisite. Like I feel like you have to be an all-arounder, you have to know certain group of people. Like if you don't know who Benjamin B is, like maybe like restudy it. I'm not saying you have to know all the biggest whales of the hobby, but if you want to be part, working for like an auction house, you should, you know what I mean? You should know all sorts of buyers and stuff. So really study the people around you, appreciate the people, appreciate their time they're giving you. First of all,
Right.
okay, um, appreciate the time, but at the same, because we're not entitled to their time. But when we do receive their time, really absorb and build a relationship and build a network that you know. And will being a nice and genuine collector will carry you so far in life, guys, than being like a mean flexer. Okay, like I promise you, like you will have opportunities you couldn't even comprehend just because you're appropriate, you're treating people well. You know what I mean? So all that good stuff, or like just having a good energy around you, and being a very hard worker and being a passionate person in TCG. um Nothing should really stop you guys, yeah, yeah.
I think that's really good
So
advice. Also, just like, yeah, I didn't want to pose that question to confuse people in that, working in the industry is like buying and selling, where it's like you're going after this next big, like you're obviously, it's like a job in the sense where you're working in a team, you're
yeah,
trying to build
yeah,
out your product or service, like
it's like a real estate agent. I think that's like the closest thing to an example. Like you're trusting me to sell your house, and you're giving me a
right,
percentage, right? You're giving me a percentage to sell your house too, right? So your house is your card. You're giving me your house, essentially your card, to sell for you, and you're giving me a percentage to sell for you, right? Because you
right,
don't want to deal with X, Y, and Z. Same with house owners. I don't want to deal with people coming to my house to negotiate. I'm gonna use my realtor about it, right? Yeah.
right.
So a sales rep for auction house is very similar to a realtor. Yeah. And an auction house is similar to a brokerage. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, last question for you. One piece of advice you would give someone just entering the TCG market today. Doesn't have to be Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, could be collectibles even in general, but just again, I think looking back, I always try to frame it in a way where it's like, what's one piece of advice I'd give myself when I first started in the hobby that would put me like closer to where I am
Mm.
today?
Yeah. Uh jo- jo- joining like discords and joining meeting up with people um would be like is like very important, because when you put your face and like when you like connect with people, the deals are so much easier. And not only that, it keeps you accountable too. You know what I mean?
Right.
It keeps you accountable. And then like if you're like a fister, maybe you don't want to be a fister. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to like get always steals and stuff, the market is there to keep you accountable. And that like if you want to go about your way, there are costs to take that. So step one is like who's your favorite collector? I think that's like really good step. Like if you have like if your favorite collectors like SM Pratt or like Pokey Red or Cool Trainer Ryan, there's a lot of good example or Pokey Chloe,
Right.
So like all those like great collectors slash influencers, um, really go from there and what did they collect and know and kind of like infuse your preferences with the people that you surround yourself with, and don't go in alone, go in with your friends and or go in you know building relationships. You don't have to be a lone wolf in this community. I think this community is the it should be open arms welcoming.
Right.
I don't think it's a community built by cool people anyways. It's built by nerds. So
Yeah.
I think it's a place where you should, even if you're a first timer, um it's a great industry and community for you to just come in and absorb. And even if you're not buying or selling for the first time, I think it's important to kind of like make your Instagram page and then like kind of start from there.
Yeah.
I think Instagram, even though it might be like this, casual app to people, I think the having a niche following and niche community that you can always access through a certain Instagram profile is invaluable. Yeah. So
100% agree. It is
yeah.
definitely the platform of choice for collectors as of right now, at least.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that also being said, just because you don't see certain people on Instagram doesn't mean there's no high-end collectors or certain collectors. Like Instagram is just like a nice little Switzerland rendezvous where you can connect with collectors without having to travel to shows per se. You
right.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be real. This community is where like you don't really need a lot of following to reach out to people. Whereas like, in other industry, you might need some clout to, interact. But like I've talked to people with like zero following just because they were like really curious and like wanting to get to know more, you know what I mean? But it comes into my messages because, even though I have like 7,000 followers, it's okay. I can still receive those messages. They're more realistic, even though other pages when they have 100,000 or million followers, it's hard to see those DMs. So
Right.
I feel like in this community, no matter what stage you are in life, a lot of the people are accessible. Yeah.
Very, very solid advice. Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to kind of tie a bow on it and end things there. But
Thank you, guys.
I'm gonna link David's Instagram one more time in the chat. It is browneyesyellowdragon. Feel free to reach out to him about any questions related to the hobby or alts. But yeah, I mean, I guess I was gonna say where else could people find you, but this is your main squeeze right there. Find him at shows. Again, message him about any questions you have with alt or any other hobby related stuff.
Yeah, guys. Just know the hobby's big. We have so many people in this space. Like there's like I love it. Like I think this year I got to be really close with my Singaporean community. So like that's what I love about Pokemon, in that like the world is a very global hobby. It's a very
Right.
global hobby. So I know some of us haven't even some of us might not have traveled outside of the USA, but believe it or not, you might have friends outside of the USA.
Yeah.
So just keep I think I want to end with this and that. Uh, I'm 32. I've already mentioned that. And as you finish college, Zach, it's hard to make new friends, right? In the work field. But I'm not saying, this Pokemon community has so many friends to make. No, that's not my point. But the fact that you get to meet new people on a relative like weekly to monthly basis, just because you're part of this hobby, I think is a blessing. Yeah, because a lot of the times when you look at my friend groups or when you look at your like old group from high school, it's kind of like the same, right?
Right.
So I like this. I like this pace of like I don't have to like everybody that I meet, but at the same time, at least I'm meeting new people all the time.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's something to be said. Like you definitely I get a lot of energy from interacting with new people or people asking me new questions, even if I don't know them, but it's still like to your point, it is really hard to make new friends or connections outside of college or once you get into the real world where you work your 9
The
to
adult
5
world.
and you're burnt out after work. You know, it's tough. So it's a good
Yeah.
medium where you can meet like-minded people and really kind of talk about things you enjoy. And then once you get to meet them in person too at the shows, it's like it's an awesome.
It's like full fruition.
experience.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like meeting your Call of Duty buddies on
Yeah.
you know, in person. You know what I mean? But it's like it's even more intimate because like it's like, you know, assets that you guys like talk about.
Right.
You know, so yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's perfect. Thank you again, David. Thank you anyone who's still in the chat and anyone who watches back later. Again,
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, we're gonna end it there. As always, join the Discord down below. Buy, sell, trade, talk about collecting, investing, all that jazz. And
All that jazz. Yes,
all
sir.
that jazz. And yeah, we'll end it there. Thank you, Roy. Thanks for the stream, Zen/BrownEyesYellowDragon. Yeah, we appreciate you tuning
Of course, Roy. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Hard to
Hopefully
sit
we
down
can
for 2 hours, but good
I know.
job. Yeah.
I know.
Not me. I'm talking about the viewers. I can talk for hours, but I appreciate the viewers.
When I watch stuff like this, I'm like walking around the house or at the gym or on a walk. Like I just have it in my ear. All right, we'll call it there. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and I should be live again next Tuesday, I believe, is my next one scheduled. So
I'll see you guys again. This won't be my last, I promise.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Peace out.